The Ace Combat franchise has always interested me, but I never spent much time with it. I did, however, play the 3DS game, Assault Horizon Legacy. Yeah, it was pretty neat, but it was definitely hindered by being on the 3DS. For me, portable games don't really work when it comes to flight-based combat. See also Gravity Rush. After playing for a few hours, it would always give me the craziest headaches. Anyway, I decided to review Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies in an attempt to see what the series is all about without getting an intense migraine, while also getting a little retro. The game has you playing as Ace Pilot Mobius 1. Our Ace is part of the military coalition known as the Independent States Allied Forces. They're trying to take down the invading Federal Republic of Erusia. Typically, military stories don't get me all that engaged. However, Shattered Skies somehow managed to really get me invested in its fictional war between fictional armies. It succeeds where others fail with its cheaply made slideshow of a side story. The cutscenes detail the life of a boy that experiences his country getting invaded by the enemy forces of Erusia. While it was just an anime slideshow with 2000s era video game narration, it gave me a reason to care about the war as well as those that were directly affected. This provides a much needed narrative spice to an otherwise gameplay first type of experience. Here, the story is simple yet effective. After playing for a couple of hours, I really got invested in the struggles of Mobius 1. I wanted to see Erusia go up in flames as I shot down each enemy fighter jet. As my piloting skills improved through completing missions, the enemy pilots started warning each other about the dangers of Mobius 1. It was a neat detail that does a good job of stroking the ego of the player while emphasizing how big of a threat our Ace is to the enemy forces. Shattered Sky strikes a perfect blend with its compelling narrative, rewarding gameplay, and inspiring music. Combat is both straightforward and satisfying. First are your Vulcan cannons, which basically act as your machine guns. I have to admit, I found very little use for them besides a couple missions here and there. Aiming them required the player to steer where they want to shoot, resulting in potentially crashing your jet and forcing you to start from scratch. The second and most important weapons are the missiles. They home on to any nearby targets and the game gives you a bunch of them. Missiles in Ace Combat are essentially the bread and butter of combat. They consistently destroy both air and land targets with ease. Finally, there's a tertiary weapon based on player choice. The player can equip weapons like bombs, rocket launchers, and long-range missiles. This customization allows the player to prepare for each mission with a little strategy. Some of these weapons require purchasing and are tied to their respective jets. After progressing through each level, the game gives you money to buy the latest and greatest aircrafts. Some are general purpose, while others are very specialized to excel at a single role. Many of the jets look sleek, though the PS2 graphics do hold the experience back a bit in that regard. I do like how the store buys back jets and weapons for the same price they initially cost. However, they probably should have just rewarded the player with more mission money instead so that they could buy everything over the course of the game. As it is now, I'm able to use any available jet or weapon at any time because I can just sell everything I have to buy the most suitable setup for whatever mission the game throws at me. It wasn't too big of an issue, but it just makes me wonder what the developers were thinking with this system. Flight games take some getting used to. Up is down and down is up, sharp turns require your jet to be flying sideways, and the floor is essentially lava. These little nuances make sense for piloting a jet, but they require a little getting used to for those new to the genre. I spent a chunk of time getting used to these controls. At first, I was struggling a lot, but once I got myself a decent PS2 controller, I improved by a long shot. Initially, I played with some crappy third-party controller that didn't really feel like the original PS2 controller. Now, I'm playing with one much closer to the original, and it's orange. I was seriously surprised how much of a difference it made. When I first started, crashing into the ground was seriously holding me back. Eventually, I got the hang of it, but there was always the occasional possible mistake looming over me. I never felt safe since crashing into anything would instantly kill me and force me to start the level all over again. I was more afraid of the ground than I was of the jets or the anti-air guns. Getting used to the controls was truly satisfying to me, like learning to ride a bike for the first time. The jet's fragility adds to the realism and ends up forcing the player to learn how to navigate the skies if they want to finish the game. Mastering the controls was absolutely rewarding. On my journey to becoming a competent pilot, I stumbled upon the game's tutorials. They're absolutely awful. The designers had the text pop up super slowly in a way that's probably the worst way to do a tutorial. The text crawls onto the screen while forcing the player to just sit there and think about their life decisions. It would have been a complete non-issue if they gave the player control as the text appeared. As it is now, it's an incredibly bland start to an otherwise excellent game. The single-player campaign is short but effective. It has this mission system that delivers a lot of variety. Some missions want the player to rack up points by destroying buildings and jets, while others are more linear and objective focused. It's all for the sake of mixing things up to prevent the simple combat from feeling stale. The developers definitely succeeded as each mission kept the experience fresh the whole way through. It all fits in the game without feeling shoehorned in. The game's point system is crucial during some levels where the player is set against the clock to gather enough points to pass the mission. I had a lot of fun during these point-based levels as they add an extra degree of tension to the journey. The game's learning curve starts off pretty steeply, but then smoothens out after the first quarter. One gripe I had with the campaign was the somewhat mediocre final mission. It left a somewhat bad taste in my mouth. It was this strange mission that had you destroying some structures in a maze fortress, while everyone else got to fight each other. I would have much preferred the last mission to end on a cool dogfight against an enemy ace. They kinda dropped the ball there, but I won't hold it against them too much. Hopefully the sequel does a better job. The game has really cool mission briefings for each level. These briefings do an excellent job at filling you in on what kind of jet and weapon to bring to battle. Also, they're brimming with style and they always got me hyped up for the next mission. Part of it is probably the music. It's absolutely inspiring. Speaking of the music, the game's soundtrack is unexpectedly amazing. Seriously though, I didn't think a jet simulator would have so much going for it in the music department. A lot of the impact the game had on me was linked to the music. It blends synthesizers with orchestral layers to give off a cool, yet engaging auditory experience. There's even some rock in there for good measure. I found the music to be a real treat in an already great game. It was further enhanced with all the radio chatter from both friend and foe. The game's dialogue was fun to listen to. It added a lot of personality to these faceless aircrafts, while also increasing my overall engagement to the experience. Graphically speaking, it works. It's not groundbreaking, but it was probably impressive for its time. The graphics work for what they are, but it's not much. It's especially bad down at ground level. You really get to see pixely landscapes down there. However, the game's menus really get me going. I just love the aesthetic. It's simple, sleek, and rad as all hell. Unfortunately, it comes at the cost of the shop menu's readability. They really goofed up here. The light coming from the sun makes it hard to read the item details during specific screens. It's a glaring oversight through and through. Overall, I definitely had an excellent time with Shattered Skies. Though it left me hanging at the end, the overall experience was incredibly memorable. The gameplay is a straight up joy to play, and I wouldn't mind returning to it someday. The little story there is was surprisingly captivating. However, the real star of the game was easily the music. The captivating soundtrack really got a hold of me. I feel like I've been missing out on a real quality franchise up until now. In the end, I have to recommend Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies. Without a doubt, it's a great game with a lot going for it, and very little holding it back. Thanks for watching the review. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like the video and consider subscribing to my channel. If you want more, here are some of my other videos. See you all next time when I review Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.